Welcome to Wood Talk. Now here are three guys who, if combined, would make one hell of a woodworker. Marc, Shannon, and Matt.
What's going on, everybody? It's show number 585, and on today's show we're talking about how to lower your chances of getting a back injury in the shop, cutting the end of a workbench, designing with secondary woods, and super-duper ultra-mega laminated bench top. That sounds all like pretty interesting stuff there.
Yeah, could be. Depends who you are.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll just see how the mood goes. We're not really into it today, so you never know.
There's a mood, all right. I can already tell.
Yeah. All right. Well, all that exciting stuff and more coming up. But first, we want to let you know that Wood Talk is proudly sponsored by Woodcraft. Woo! Woodcraft is the leading authority in woodworking, making, and creating. They have the tools, supplies, expertise, and hands-on classes to inspire creativity at every level. Learn more at woodcraft.com.
That's right, Mark. And our show is also sponsored by the generous contributions of people like you. Maybe beautiful people like you. Who knows? No one's judging. If you want to help support the show, you can do so. This is no judgment zone. If you want to help support the show as well, become one of those beautiful people. It definitely makes you more attractive if you support the show on Patreon. You can do that by going to patreon.com/woodtalk and signing up to become a patron of the show. This time we're thanking, let me scroll down here. Richard Telton, Brian Killen, Joshua Knutson, Martin Murray, Stephen again, the same Stephen as last week maybe, and Daniel Smari. Smari? I don't know.
Sure. Sounds good.
Do you ever wonder, like, is Matt's voice going to eventually crack as it just gets so high? It just keeps climbing and climbing and climbing.
Maybe,
I'm just waiting for it.
I was actually going to make a comment about that, too. It reminds me of, like, Seinfeld. If you ever hear when Seinfeld gets excited about something or needs to yell, he doesn't actually yell. He just goes up a few octaves. And I feel like when Matt gets excited, that's what he does, too. He just keeps going up
going up a little bit higher. There's always room to go up.
There's always room. I love it. Well, it gives us a nice range of voices. I think we do have like Shannon's got the deepest voice. I'm probably in the middle. And then you got baby. Matt. I mean, we could have a nice little singing group here if
there we go.
If we all had singing talent, which I know I don't. So
only one of us does.
You just have a degree in it. That doesn't actually mean anything.
Well, yeah,
it's more than what we have. So there you go.
Hard-earned degree that I have not used since. It's been great.
No. Sounds like my career in science.
Exactly.
I have a lot of useless stuff swimming around in my brain. Yep. All right. Well, let's get to what's on the bench. It's nice doing the show a little bit more frequently because I feel like we can kind of get like the beginning, middle, and end of projects instead of just the way we used to do it. We mention it, and then by the next show, it's probably done, and we're moving on to the next thing. So my raised garden beds are still being worked on. Got a little bit of finish on them. Had a fun glue-up experience, and it was kind of interesting because I did box joints on the corners or finger joints. They're just really, really large.
Of course you did.
Come on. Oh, this is the guy. I mean, let's talk about some of his kitchen
table
details,
saw,
Matt.
slab, sled.
Yeah, you can't judge, sir.
Right.
So these
seriously,
these got finger joints.
I'm doing a utilitarian garden project, and here I am doing some kind of joinery instead of just screwing in a corner post and calling it good.
Nope, couldn't do that. So they interlock, and the interesting thing about it is on any other kind of wood, and this is something I had to remember to mention in the video. So the strategy was doing a glue up of smaller boards. And what I did was I made each board a finger, right? So if each one is like a 4-inch board, when I glued them together, I just staggered them, pushed them a little bit to each end and alternate so that each one is sized perfectly. But what you wind up with is each opening is the exact size of the piece of wood. The funny thing is you can get away with that with Western red cedar because it's so soft and
slam it together.
Right, but if you try that, if let's say you're doing another project and you do it in walnut, you may not have as much luck.
You got a nice crack right there. You can
joints.
Or do some butterflies or something.
Yeah, it turns out
blue epoxy that's left over from the last project.
Yeah.
Right. So it turns out you actually need a little bit of breathing room in your joinery. So I had to remember to mention that this is something that we're only able to get away with because the wood is so soft. And I used epoxy for that final glue up because water-based would make it swell.
You got that lube going.
Yeah, I needed a little bit of lube to get that thing to seat. So it worked out pretty good. I got the top on it, little mitered frame on the top. and it's sitting on the assembly table waiting for me to do the final steps. Had to do a little more research. Shannon, you talked about, like, are you going to show some of the actual gardening aspects of this? And I will, but one of the things I used on the inside was a new to me product. I think it's called Garden Seal. It's a non-toxic sealer that's often used not just for things like raised garden beds, but maybe you have a post that's going in the ground, right? And you want to make sure that that's protected from the elements as much as possible. But it's totally non-toxic, absolutely safe for soil and vegetables and stuff like that. So I was able to put that on the inside. Wound up with Duro Grit. We talked about that a couple shows ago. Rubio's Duro Grit. I still had the can. I don't love the color, but I do like the product. It's decent, and I'm not going to go spend another, what it's like $70, $80 for that little can, that little liter can. I still had a lot left, so I used it, and now I still have a lot left. So everything's going to be foxy brown
Nice.
by the time I'm
Very
done with
nice.
it. So I got the finish on there, and getting ready to put it in the backyard, which is now its own whole thing because I have to remove some of the grass and make a space for it. It's like, if you want to do it right, I can't just...
It keeps going.
It just keeps going. It won't stop. Next thing you know, I'm going to be putting on an addition on my house and filming that whole thing. And
Just like you do, I mean, before you put the garden in, you got to make sure you have the right spot for the addition and all the things vibe. Yeah, I get it.
back to the drawing board for me. So all I wanted to do was plant some vegetables. Like, that's how this started.
And here we are into June already. It's great.
Gosh dang it. Here I am again. Anyway, so not much beyond that from me. Matt, what do you got going on?
Oh, my wife is on her way back right now, which is pretty exciting. I'm very excited to have her back here, and
Nice.
she's just finished up. What day is it today? Oh my gosh, it's just a blur. Like yesterday was her last day at class, so she was at the writer's workshop at the University of Iowa, which
Nice.
I had no idea about this program they had there because I'm not in that kind of space, but apparently it's kind of a big deal. So
That's awesome.
I just
Has
wanna
she
say
begun the novel
congratulations
that
to
I
her.
suggested she
Yes.
start writing?
yours, no, but
No?
her own,
Okay.
yes.
Well, I told her that I feel like it would be appropriate if she wrote a novel about a love story between two guys, consensual, non-sexual love story between two.
I believe that will be her next
Italian-American
one.
men.
If this first one works out for her, that
Okay.
might be her next kind of story.
A good follow-up, I think. Well, look,
Yeah.
she's clearly into the romance thing, and
Maybe
I think this
it's
is
within the same universe as the first one, maybe, and there's some crossover. Who knows?
sure. And there's untapped potential here. I know I would read it. I normally wouldn't read a romance novel, but I would if she did my suggestion. So
She's going to title it 50 Shades of... Hey!
Hey,
hey, I'm talking here. All right, well, that's good. I'm glad she's back.
oh, she's almost back. She'll be back in like 3 hours as we're recording this.
Oh, okay. Well, let's hurry up and finish the show.
she's on the road
Right,
right
you
now.
got to clean the house before she gets home.
I did that yesterday with the kids. We did it for like an hour and a half last night because I'm like, one of the things she likes is coming home to a clean house. And I think in the back of her mind, she's like, I'm going to come back to like a destroyed house because I left my husband here with 3 kids. Hoping to prove her wrong. But
Yeah.
she's also
The
one of
fact
those
that you
people
still
that
have 3 kids, you're ahead of things, right?
I didn't lose any kids.
Still got 3.
They're
Did you
still all
count them?
here.
Do a head count just in case?
Are they the same 3 kids?
I
Do we
don't
know?
know. We're not going that far, right?
Okay, yeah,
It
who
was
cares? 3 is 3.
Don't be
Number in,
ridiculous,
number out.
Shannon.
You know, it's just, as long as the number matches.
It's just a
fine.
small human. It's fine.
We haven't lost anybody.
Maybe match the gender as well. 1 girl, 2 boys.
We're asking
Too
too
much
much. Asking
Might be
way
happy
too
to have
much.
2 girls and 1 boy. You never know.
Oh man.
Anyway,
Good deal. All
I'll
right. Well,
take over.
Shannon, what do you got going on?
I'm building a series of vases. I don't know what's gotten into me lately, but I'm like on small project bender. Like I apparently can't build anything bigger than a bread box right now. But maybe
fine.
I've just my quality scrap, like the scrap that I can't bring myself to burn, has gotten to the point where I just got to do something about it now because I'm tripping over it. Or it's the e-commuter bike is taking up too much room in the shop that now I need to use more scrap to make more room for the bike. It's the same problem your buddy last time had, Mark.
Yeah, right.
He's selling tools. I'm just building stuff. But I bought a couple of, they're bud vases, but they look like really beefy test tubes, you know, that you put a single stem in. And I'm got some heavily figured like pomeli sapele that I've had for probably 10 years. They're offcuts from... Here I'm making fun of Matt for his crosscut sled, but for my pomeli sapele treadle lathe that I built
Yep.
I mean, it
in
makes sense.
2012, I've got a bunch of offcuts of 12-quarter material from that. So I'm making a series of bud vases. It's basically experiments in negative space. I'm sure you guys have seen these things where you've got, a block of wood that's got a cutout in it, and the test tube kind of suspends over top, and the vase goes in there. But I'm trying to embrace like the shape of the piece already, and playing with French curves, and it's just kind of fun. Just building small projects, moving up scrap.
French curves.
Nice. That's good. Speaking of scrap, I put out a story asking if anybody local wants some of this Western red cedar.
I saw that.
Oh yeah.
I had one guy ask if it's still available. He Facebook ghosted me, which is my Facebook Marketplace. That is my favorite thing. I actually know who it is. He's a nice guy. But honestly, if anybody is in like the Wentzville, Missouri, St. Louis area, I've got this stuff if you want it. So
you're still trying to get rid of it, is what you're saying?
I would rather get rid of it than throw it away or burn it. It's just you're going to have to do a little work to get some good meat out of it, but there's still some meat on the bone. And there's some good Western red cedar if you want to come down to the shop and take it.
So this should be proof that people always tell us, like, just give away all your scrap, or like,
it's not that easy.
Come pick it up. Like, it's so much work.
Yeah. How about your sawdust? Oh yeah, there's people who use that.
Bag that stuff up.
Who are they? And
who's this magical person that will come and empty my dust collector for me and take it away the instant I need it done?
Yeah. I mean, you need a matchmaker. Like, there are people certainly who would perfectly be happy taking that wood, but are they local? Did they hear my message? I mean, I put it out on a Instagram story, which means no one saw it. So
I saw it.
That's how Matt saw it, but that's about it. That's how
I
that
saw
works
it, but
anymore.
I didn't turn on the sound.
Well, that's effective. I guess that's why they always tell you to put the captions on, because people don't turn the sound on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. We have a bulk pickup service that the city provides for us once a month on Thursdays, and it's always fun. Like I remember bulk pickup is happening because of the pickers like circling the neighborhood, driving around
looking for the good stuff.
Like it's crazy how quick things disappear, but not wood. Like no one wants that. Yeah. But like if you accidentally like, oh, I went to the backyard to get gas for the lawnmower and left the lawnmower in the front yard, you might not be there when you get back. The pickers are circling. So yeah, it's just a matter of throwing it out on the curb, or like my across the street neighbor, throw it onto the curb for weeks on end.
Yeah, just leave it there.
Still no one
That's
picks
where
it
it
up.
lives now.
Yeah. Apparently
my brother-in-law taught me a good trick. He's like, if you want to give something away, you know how you could put it in front of your house and just say free, right? He said the most effective thing to do to get rid of it is not to put a sign that says free, but a sign that says $5 and leave it out there. It'll be gone 10 times faster if you do that.
And maybe an honest person will leave you $5.
Yeah, it's got to be perceived value, and then it goes.
Right.
All right. So we actually have a little bit of kickback today. So Paul Engel says, not a question, but some kickback. I work 2 days a week at Woodcraft. Since they became a sponsor, every time I walk in the store, I see a sign with the Wood Talk logo and QR code. It occurred to me, this sponsorship may have been the deal of a century for you guys. I'm betting you will get more new listeners from this campaign than Woodcraft will get new customers. Smooth move. That's a wonderful backhanded
Let's get a pool going on this one. Let's see. Who's advertising for who here? Let's see.
And hey, look, it's okay for it to be mutually beneficial. I think that's the whole idea. Also, not only that, I got a message from I won't out the name because I don't know if they want this to be public, but private message on Instagram. And they said, the situation is I got a 39-minute drive to the R store, a 36-minute drive to Woodcraft. I just never thought about Woodcraft much, to be honest, until the podcast sponsorship. Now, they will probably get $5,000 a year of my business that used to be spent at R. Decisions have consequences, is what he says.
Wow.
So that's a word of warning to Woodcraft. Think about what's going on next year.
I want to go on record and officially say that we had a great... We have a great relationship with Rockler. It ran its course. Like, it was just like, you'd never expect to sponsor, what was it, 4 years? 3 years at least.
I didn't expect more than one, so I was happy for the 4 or 5 that we got.
I have to say, I feel so loved by Woodcraft right now. Like, the level of participation, like they're jumping on this. This is what you want to see from a sponsor. Like we say this, and Rockler did a little bit, but there's just something about the way Rockler is handling this. I mean, the fact that I know I have a sign sitting above my tool cabinet.
You already said it wrong.
Yeah, you already got it wrong.
God, I've already done it. Sorry, guys. There goes the sponsorship.
Look, hey, everybody knows, like, we can't not say the name.
How often do you call your wife by the wrong name?
Nicole called me Mateo this morning, so
nice.
And that what's that say? What's that Freudian slip mean?
Yeah. Weird. But anyway, warm fuzzies to Woodcraft. It's been it's been a short experience, but it's just been a really positive experience.
No, it's off to a great start. I like the fact they, if you guys want to know some of the nuts and bolts of how this goes, of course, they're a big company. You would think they'd be more controlling of the messaging and things like that, but they are giving me specifically, as I tend to write the advertising stuff, a lot of control over how we get this message out to you. And the thing is, we don't want to hit you over the head with hard advertisement that's just me reading a script. We want it to be useful. We want it to be helpful. They do too. And they're giving us that level of control. That's how you get the best results. Everybody wins. It's listenable for you guys. It's important information, good messaging. And then they get the message out that they're trying to get out there, right? And I love partnering with a company who lets us do what we do best, and speaking for them and getting their messages out.
Which is not a whole lot.
Yeah, we don't do very much. We do a couple things really well, but that's it. All right. So with that in mind, I guess we almost started a mid-roll here, but their whole thing that they're getting into starting this month is a campaign for just getting started. Whether it's a kid who is constantly scrolling on their phone or a 40-year-old man that's constantly scrolling on his phone and not getting out of that research loop and actually getting into the shop to make something, they really want you to just get started. It's a big push that they're trying to do. So my wife, Nicole, recently was in the area, and she went to like a Girl Scout store. Apparently that's a thing. There's Girl Scout stores. And she had to go get something for Ava, and she happened to be right near our local Woodcraft, so she figured she'd stop in. First thing she did was do a vertical video where she accidentally said, "Hey, I'm at the local Rockler."
I'm at our local Rockler.
I was like, "Good
she
one,
did
Nicole."
It first. Let's go on record. She did it first. It wasn't hilarious. Me. When the sponsorship falls through.
It's a lot of, we're like dogs, it's hard to undo the training. We're working on it. But anyway, she's like, I'm here at the local Woodcraft, and she really wanted to go in to look for some of these kits that they have, because she has a kit that I bought her for Christmas that she's afraid to start. So she wanted to go into the store twofold to find something for herself that was a little bit more approachable, that she'd feel comfortable getting started on. And then also something for the kids, because the kids are driving us nuts and they need some projects to work on. So I brought her on for a real quick sort of pre-recorded clip to tell us about her experience as she went into our local Woodcraft store. So I brought Nicole here because she had an interesting experience at Woodcraft recently.
Yeah.
And I thought it really relates well to Woodcraft's whole campaign about just get started. So I didn't know you were even going to the store. But what happened?
I didn't even know I was going to the store.
It was like a spur of the moment thing.
It just so happened to be in an area that I had to go to, and I was like, wait, Woodcraft is like right here. And I knew that they had put your pictures on for the Wood Talk show.
Oh, on the little cards.
So I wanted to go see. I wanted to go see if your card was up, and it was.
Okay.
And it was adorable. And there were 3 guys in there, and I was like, I wonder if they have any like kits because I'm looking for stuff for the kids to do.
Yeah, it's summertime.
Yeah,
they need something to keep their hands busy.
So that was why I went in.
Okay,
was really for the kids, but I ended up coming out with stuff for me.
Nice. So what happened? I mean, what'd you find?
So you gifted me this cute Beavercraft Santa carving kit that I really, really wanted.
Right.
I haven't opened it because I'm afraid to start it. And I've never carved anything.
It looks fairly complicated. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah, and I'm afraid to start it.
Okay.
So as I was looking at the kits, I realized that they had a ton of Beavercraft kits. So some that I had been looking at, they had a spoon carving. They had this, I think it's like a Dutch horse that I was interested in, and then like this little bear. Mm-hmm. And so I just got them all, and I was like, I want the Santa to turn out really, really good. So I figured I would just start with the spoons.
To work your way up to it.
To work my way up to it. And the way that I work with a new hobby is I like to start small, get my confidence, and build up. I felt like I was going to really mess up the Santa if I just started hacking away at it.
How was the presentation in the store? I walk into these stores. I'm a fairly experienced woodworker. Sure. I feel welcome when I walk into that store.
Oh, yeah.
And look, not for nothing. It is a male-dominated environment.
Yeah.
You're going in there looking for stuff for you and for the kids.
I'm
just curious, how did that feel?
I think it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, too. So nobody was in.
Not busy.
It was not busy. There were 3 guys just kind of standing towards the front of the store. I actually thought they were all customers.
Marc, Matt, and Shannon.
I thought they were customers.
Yeah, we just live in Woodcraft now.
But then I walk in and they were like, "Hey, how you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good." And one of them was like, "Is there anything I can help you find?" And I was like, "Oh, you work here." So he was super friendly.
Cool.
And I said, "I'm looking for kits for my kids." Because I had seen some stuff on the website that I was interested in, but they didn't have that in that particular store. But they had actually, like I said, to my surprise, the Beavercraft stuff, which I was really excited to give a try. But I did get the kids like this aeroplane thing, and then they had a clearance section, and I asked Ava if she wanted to do a project together, and we're gonna do like this butterfly thing. I might be regretting this one.
Yeah, there's something to it. It's not super simple,
but it's it's something for us to focus our energy on. And they were super friendly, and he walked me through the whole store and showed me the clearance section, and I just had a really nice time at the Woodcraft store.
Well, that's good to hear. For folks who are just audio listeners, these are just small wood-based kits and things that it looks like fairly easy to get your kids involved in. And
they had no idea who I was.
Sure. No, I just thought it was a good story. I think this really dovetails in nicely with what Woodcraft is trying to do, to get people to stop doing the endless searches and scrolling on their phones, and to get especially young kids who are potentially a little bit screen addicted to put those screens down, get a fun little kit like this, and get their hands doing something much more useful than clicking and scrolling. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to get started.
I would like to see you get started.
I'm gonna do.
You have no more excuses.
I have no more excuses at all. So.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on the show.
Are you gonna use my spoons if I make them?
Probably not. That's disgusting. No thanks. All right. Thanks, Nicole.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye. All right. So thanks for that, Nicole. Special guest. That was really awesome. Let's get to our questions. And these, I think most of these are taken from Patreon again, right? We didn't do a new one, but these are from last week's call for questions over at...
right. Yeah, that's the new conundrum. We put it out on Patreon and we get more questions, so we don't answer the questions on Patreon now. So,
I was confused when I went over there because I started reading, like, we answered these. Like, what is this? And,
people came in well after and added more, and they're great questions.
Am I going crazy? Did I miss a post somewhere? Is this something?
Yeah.
I'm like, I was like going through. I'm like, you asked this question again? I literally just answered this on the last show. Did you not listen to it? I almost replied to him. Like, why are you asking this again? I answered your question.
Right. Yep. So that's patreon.com/woodtalk.
I easily get confused.
Yeah, you do. We're used to it. It's okay.
More hand-holding, please.
Gabriel had a question. Actually, there's 2 parts to his question that have nothing to do with each other, and I figured I'd try to answer both. Sorry, I have a couple questions left in the oven too long. I hurt my back last week and was having trouble planing some stool legs. Do you do any stretches or workouts to avoid injury? This is right up my alley, because boy, do I have a relationship with back issues over the years. Unfortunately, I've worked through most of them. I still know that I have limitations. There are certain moves, stretches, or activities that I go, yep, that one's not for me. Let me call Nicole in. We'll tag team this. So I still have to be very careful about what I do to avoid injury. But I do think stretching and workouts to kind of prevent these injuries in the future are incredibly helpful. This is not a fitness show, so I'm not going to get like deep into this. I'm going to make 2 recommendations. One is a video, and by the way, these are dime a dozen. So if you want to learn from a woman, you could find that video, and you could find the same information from some guy, whatever your flavor is. But I've got one video, lady knows what she's talking about. It's a bunch of back, especially lower back stretches and things, and also hip stretching. That's really good for like the hip flexors, things that you might want to do before you're going to do a strenuous activity in the shop. Highly recommend you look into those. I've got a second video that is what I call more of like your preventative stuff. It's something called the McGill Big Three. You guys ever heard of that? No? Okay. No. Well, now you have. They are core exercise like stretches, and they're essentially things that you're doing to strengthen your core, because a lot of the things that fail us in the shop when we're doing regular shop activities is due to a lack of core strength. So these are 3 exercises that if you do every day, they're actually going to make a huge difference in kind of helping you prevent injury in the first place. And I do these routinely. I do them at the shop. First thing I do when I get to the shop is I vacuum the floor, because there's probably ticks from the damn cat all over the rug on the floor. But after I vacuum the floor, I do these 3 exercises, and I think they're really, really good. The only other thing I'll add to that is if you're doing something that you don't normally do, like an activity you don't normally do, even as simple as like, I know when I do power carving, I don't do it all the time, but I'm very heavily masked up. I've got ear protection, I've got a mask on, and I'm looking down. And that will eventually really cause neck pain if I do it, for an extended period of time. So taking breaks is a really good idea. If it's something that's physically strenuous, just take a couple of minutes, stretch out, move your body around, extend your arms, straighten up your neck, and maybe even do some of those stretches as well. But don't stay huddled down for too long, because you'll find out that night or the next day how painful that is if it's not an activity you normally do. So that's really it on the fitness stuff. Do you guys, just real quick, we don't have to dwell on it, do you actually pay any attention to this? Do you ever do any stretches prior to shop activity?
I can tell that where I'm at in my life right now is I'm going to have to start.
You're starting to feel it a little bit?
But I'm like, for some reason, like all of a sudden, I'm like, I don't really have the range of motion that I used to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, because I never paid attention to it before. So I'm like, this is actually kind of timeless. I'm like, I should probably start doing like some daily stretches or something to just kind of limber up and free up my body a little more. Because I'm like, like I'm making the old man bending down sounds. I'm like, I shouldn't be making these sounds all the time.
Yeah.
Proud member of that club.
Yeah. Do it. That's a good thing too. Do it now before it's too late. Prevent that injury. Because as soon as you get injured, it's like game over. It is so hard to bounce back from like a legit back injury, especially as you get older. It gets harder and harder and harder. So
it's like my whole body. Like I'm picking up sticks. I'm like, I can't even like bend over correctly to pick up a stick.
Yeah.
Like doing these weird moves to like get down to the ground.
Shannon, I don't know. I think it might be time for some cycling.
One of us.
It might be time for a bike.
I'm getting there.
Yeah, that's
I was
true.
trying to hold out till I turned 40, but
I got 8 of them.
Let's start early.
Need one?
Yeah, I got a couple extra too. I mean, it's just the
Put it
thing.
on
my
the
mother-in-law's
curb, market
bike.
at $5.
And real quick, Shannon, what about you? You have very physical woodworking style.
Not specifically before I get into the shop, but yes, every day.
Yeah.
Especially since I tore my meniscus. If I don't keep that moving and limber, and the shop is what really does it because of what you're talking about, standing. Lathe work kills me. I don't know how professional wood turners or just wood turners exclusively do it, because it is it's not just standing in the same place, and it's probably just because I'm not that great of a wood turner, but the sheer
your death grip and
thoracic tension from holding the tools and probably white knuckling a little bit too much, especially
probably a lot of it.
Yeah.
You're
bowl
also
gouges still kind of scare me a little bit. So
you're also tall. Does that impact how you have to maybe hunch over a little bit or bend over on a standard lathe?
I did fix that, especially if I'm working at, my only electric lathe, but it's just a little mini lathe. I have to put that on blocks at my bench.
Yeah, risers
but,
almost.
A perfect example, I'm sitting at my raised joinery bench and I've got a typical roubeau behind me. Roubeau is truly, people in my YouTube videos constantly, that's too low for you. I'm like, okay, whatever. It's 12 years old now. I'm fine. It seems to be doing okay. It's perfect bench for hand planing. It is not the right height necessarily for a lot of bench hook sawing or a lot of joinery work. But I have a joinery bench. That's the perfect height. It's, and it's based on me, but it's, it's elbow height. So I do move around back and forth between those a lot and try to correct that. If I find myself doing a lot of lower work at my roubeau, I definitely will end up sitting down at that point because that will get to me really quick. My big thing that was a surprise is the lower back issues. it pretty much always ends up being hamstrings. It's not actually your back. Well, maybe if you've injured it, it could be your back, but more than often than not, it's just it's overcompensation because, the rest of the posterior chain is a problem. So I was just shocked at how just simple hamstring stretches just change your day, frankly.
Hamstrings. For me, it's the hip flexors. That's even for long cycling, like a full day of cycling, that's the thing that's going to hurt me the most. And that ties into the lower back as well. So, well, good deal. I mean, that's it. So it's not just your body, it's thinking about the ergonomics of the tooling as well and what operations you do the most. And maybe a set of risers, raising something or lowering something or sitting in a chair for something might be real helpful.
Yeah, anti-fatigue mats are not the final solution. You got to have good shoes. Anti-fatigue mats and good shoes, because I've used really nice anti-fatigue mats and a pair of Birkenstocks. Let's overlook the fact that the open-toed thing is happening, but that's not right.
It's fine.
Hey, got to protect the edge of that chisel, so may as well go.
There you go.
Right? Yeah.
At least it's not on the concrete.
And when it goes through the toe, it goes into the cork of the Birk. So
double protection. Yeah, I love it. That's good. All right, so the second part of his question, I'm going to try to make it quick as well. He's planning on building his first big boy woodworking bench. I can imagine how I would do most of the cuts, but I'm unsure about the ends of a thick bench top. I don't have a saw with anything more than a 2-inch capacity, so I was planning on using a jigsaw, then flattening with a hand plane. Am I missing something as an obvious alternative? I can say how I would do this. I don't like planing the end grain of a big slab that would be a bench. That doesn't sound real fun.
That. I like hand planes, and I don't like doing that.
No, that sounds like a real bad time. What I would do is just a double cut with a circular saw. You do a cut on one side, flip it, and cut on the other side. If you could jig this up in some way with something that's going to give you a fixed distance and something that you could ride the base of the saw against consistently all the way around, that's going to certainly help you get better results, because the closer those two cuts are to one another, the less material you have to remove in the end. And that's really the goal. So I would approach this with 2 cuts with a standard circular saw. Should get through just about any thickness of Workbench, unless you're going extremely thick beyond 4 inches.
You can also use a sander to get you closer.
Kind of an obvious thing
also,
here?
does it need to be that
you cannot
perfect?
use a handsaw, Shannon.
No, I'm not even going to.
Does it need to be perfectly square? Or does it need to even be
exactly?
Like, what are you doing on this bench?
Who cares?
Yeah.
Like, are you putting an in cap with like an in vise? In which case you're not going to make a through cut. You're going to make a tenon cut, which is probably only an inch or 1.5 inches deep. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Why do you care? Like, yes, Mark, I did use a handsaw on my bench, but I didn't even mark a line. I just ripped it. It's still rough sawn cut. 12 years, 15 years later.
That's true.
It's not a reference end.
I was going to say, it's not something you reference off of. I might, because I got the split design, I will use it to hang drawers off of and plane those drawers. But that's not referencing off of that.
No,
it's just
as long as it fits over.
So as long as you get close and then hit it with some 80 grit or something to sand it smooth, right? It doesn't have to be perfect.
I went overboard. I got the beam saw specifically to cut my bench to length, and that changed my whole life. So maybe you need to get a beam saw and become a full Cremona. Because that was one of those I'm just going to buy this beam saw, make one cut, and then sell it when I'm done. I still have it, 10 years later, whatever it is.
Right.
11 years later.
Well, and I think for all the kits and stuff that you do, you need to make those cuts in a nice single clean cut.
Yeah.
Probably behooves you and it's worth getting.
It's nice.
That's the perception.
That was the only reason I bought it.
Versus I built it.
And I never sold it. It's this would be handy someday. Why would I want to sell this? Once you use it, you're like, this is cool. It's so nice to be able to cut 6 inches thick in one pass on anything. Or even for thicker stuff. Like, I want to cut some 12-quarter slabs or 16-quarter slabs, rip some live edge off them or something with the beam saw. You can do that with that instead of having to finagle a circular saw, make 2 cuts on both sides.
Right.
I can do that too, Matt.
I know.
And I increase my mobility while I do it.
Yeah, but you have to stretch first.
You should come hold this beam saw a little bit and see how much mobility you have afterwards.
No, you just saw slowly. You stretch into the cut. There
you go.
This feel like you're on top of the slab, like hunched over with the saw, and you're trying to push it through using your quad to feed the saw because your arms
There's
are tired.
nothing fun, by the way. I would, if I had to choose, I would rather take Shannon's
see Matt's
method.
sawing. He's sawing with his quads.
Whoa, yeah, that's a good point. I didn't catch that. How are you sawing, Matt?
Like, it's hard to push with your arms the whole time. So
I think what's happening, you're sitting on top of it and you're riding it.
It's as big as my torso. Of course
like
you're riding on top of it. How else would you do it?
Scooching along with your
It's
legs,
got two
right?
handles. You gotta like get the handles, then you put your groin on it, and you just kind of thrust it forward with your arms and your groin at the same time to get
You
a
just
good
say
consistent pressure.
yeehaw, and you get going.
When you put your cowboy
like
hat on,
Pancake scooting across the yard with a
Poo on the butt.
backside problem.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, great. Good answers all around. Shannon, you're up.
This is from Lars. I'm building a filing cabinet under my desk with one lower drawer for hanging papers and two upper drawers for office supplies. Desk is a walnut slab with metal legs. My plan is to make the filing cabinet with frame and panel carcass out of solid walnut. It will be very visible from the front and side when you enter the room, so I want it to look nice. I'm debating using an alternative wood species for the panels and or the drawer fronts, but can't decide whether that would look incongruous. How do you decide on a species selection when you won't know what the final appearance looks like until after finish is applied? I can model in SketchUp, but it's hard to visualize how the colors will look in advance of construction. So I work with domestic hardwoods like cherry, maple, etc. So, I mean, yeah, it looks a little bit different when you put finish on. I mean, I guess it depends on what finish you're using, right? But we assume we're talking, relatively clear coat finish here. And there's lots of online resources that show you what wood looks like, what species look like, and what it looks like with finish. The wood database is the one that comes to mind.
Even common combos.
Yeah. I think the key here is the finish probably doesn't really make much of a difference because the finish is just kind of enhancing what's already there. So if you're concerned about this, you need to just look at, what is your goal here? Do you want contrast or do you want complement? Complement with an E. So personally, I'm of the design school that is much more complementary woods than contrasting woods. I think when you've got highly contrasting woods, you've got to do that very sparingly. Smaller pieces. I haven't harped on the walnut and maple thing in a while. So new listeners, I hate walnut and maple combinations. But like a thin strip of maple in walnut is fine. My desk at my office is a big walnut
That's where you
slab.
draw the line,
and
literally.
It's got two pinstripes. It's a 36-inch wide desk, and there's about a half an inch worth of holly visible. They're just pinstripes.
What about sapwood and walnut?
Cool.
How do you feel about that?
What's that?
How do you feel about the sapwood and walnut?
Well, there wasn't any sapwood in that one.
I know that,
It
but
was all heart.
But in general.
I'm just trying to dig a little deeper into this preference of yours.
What about other people who use sapwood with their walnut? Is that okay?
That is okay in small amounts, I think. I definitely think so. I have some walnut pieces in my house that have a hint of sapwood that just shows the natural, but that's also creamier. It's not that bright white walnut or bright white holly.
What if the person making it is a nurse though? Does that change things?
Then they can do whatever they want to do. I learned long ago not to
they
question
get a pass on anything.
the intelligence of nurses. They're brilliant people. They know what they're doing.
Uh-huh.
So I just like to look at complementary woods, and I also like to be, really, what did they say? Like the number one rule of design is editing. So he's talking about possibly making the drawer fronts and the panels out of an alternate species. My knee-jerk reaction there is do one or the other, maybe not both. I probably also wouldn't say go with a third species, like a secondary species on the panels and a third species on the drawer front. I see that done a lot, and it drives me crazy. I just feel like you got too much going on there. Or think about it as color and also figure. Like if you're going to go with a different color and a lot of figure in that, it can be sometimes too much. There's just a lot going on. You need to think about what you want that casual person to walk into the room. You say it's visible from the front and the side. What do you want them to notice when they come in? A lot of times you want them
I want them to see all of it.
Every bit of it. But what can you actually look at all at the same time, right? Mm-hmm. Like you can't, unless your eyes can go two different directions, you're looking at the carcass and then you're looking at the panel, or you're looking at the drawer front and you're looking at the side. You're really focusing on one thing. What is the focal point? And if you can't answer that question, if it's two or three things, you probably need to edit a little. And that's what I always am thinking about. What do I want to draw my eyes to? I've got a tool cabinet over my shoulder. Unfortunately, the doors are open at this point. But the focal point there is the mahogany panels in the door. It's all cherry, and it's ribbon stripe panels in the front. And when you come in And so far, every single time I've had like a plumber or an electrician or some guy over to the house and they go through the garage, they go, wow, look at that redwood on the panels. That's the first thing they comment on. That's the focal point of the design. It's also the fronts of the drawers as well. That was the focal that I was going for. So I think that, I mean, you can get down the rabbit hole and look at color theory and things like that, but you know what? You're building out of walnut. So stark contrast that would be a white maple or something, or some sort of white wood. In the middle would be another kind of brown or a reddish brown. Cherry is a great example. Personally, I love white oak and walnut together. I think they make a really good combination. The other thing you've got to think about is the grain. If you're going to go from kind of a semi-ring porous wood like walnut that's kind of grainy to heavy grain, ring porous oaken type grain, like red oaky grain, that sometimes can be at odds with one another. Sometimes it works, but it all comes down to how much of it you choose. And never have I ever thought, what's the finish going to do to this? Like, how is the finish going to screw this up? Because I think it pretty much is going to be the same impression, unless you're specifically adding color, in the finish. You're adding pigment into the finish. I don't think you need to worry about that too much. Marc has a visual aid, kids. For those of you listening to this,
Look what I made.
Look at that, Id. If you're watching a video, this is just a little decorative table with white oak on the base and some walnut accents. And I think Shannon is dead on. That is I think a very handsome pairing.
Of course you do.
sexy.
Of course I do. I have also two other tips. First, if you are curious of what two species look like together, just Google it. You could look for furniture that features walnut and maple, and you'll see what it looks like finished. That'll give you that initial impression of whether that's a good combination. What was the other thing I was going to suggest? Went out of my head. I don't remember.
I have a bed. If you look at the bed I made for my son, it has maple posts, and the rest is all walnut. And what kind of worked there in that example was that there is sapwood in the walnut, so the walnut sapwood kind of flows, or kind of it's kind of like an intermediary between the two species, and it's just the corner post, so it's not like it's all mixed in together. So that kind of works towards like the idea of how is it all going to flow together. So that's something to also consider, is how it all.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The other thing you can do, if you don't already know this, in SketchUp, you can import like color panels. So what I will often do is find a picture that's as close, representing the wood I want to use, and I'll take that image of just the wood. You could import that image as one of the color droplets, essentially, and then you could take your SketchUp drawing, and it won't be perfect, but it's going to get you close to do what Shannon was saying. What's the overall impression you're getting from a certain vantage point? And then you can kind of drop in those colors and experiment with how that looks, and show it to other people too. If you have other people in your friend circle or family, show it to them and get their impressions on what that looks like. And sometimes reversing the color scheme, or like, Shannon said, take one of the things out, only do one, don't do both. But SketchUp does give you some of those tools to do that.
I think the thing that, especially that Matt's talking about when you incorporate sapwood, is you've got a natural transition. You've got that it's not, well, I guess it depends on the species. A lot of tropical species, there is no transition. It's just red and it's bright cream all of a sudden. But and most commercial, I know Matt doesn't know anything about this, but commercially available walnut, it's all been steamed, frankly. So the line between the sapwood and the hardwood is
my sap. I want my sap to be sap, my heart to be heart, and they should not mix.
Have my peas touch my carrots? No.
But yeah, I think you're right. Sapwood, even if it is a little bit more harsh of a quick transition, it still generally will follow a grain line or something. It won't be a dead straight line and a hard border that way. So
yeah, I've got a trestle bench in my gym, if you will, and it's got sapwood on the bottom, and it's really curly cherry. So even the sapwood, like the transition line, is super curly. It's really cool looking.
Nice. All right, Matt.
This is also kind of a funny, timely question that kind of plays off of this one.
Nice.
This is from. I missed the word. Oh, there it is right there. Powell. Debating slowly turning all my scrap into a new top for a future workbench. Some of it is offcuts, and some of it is just extra sections of defective wood with knots, cracks from buying lower grade lumber. Do you see any obvious issues with building a top where some of the boards that make the top are partials? My eventual goal is to go 6 inches thick, 7 feet long, and 36 inches wide, and not a split top.
What a loser.
What? Oh,
I love how the paradigms change.
I know. That's
Right?
right.
Not a split top.
I'm imagining doing
Not
it.
using the
date-
domino on this.
No.
You can date your workbench by whether it's a split top or not. I love that.
Oh man, I'm imagining doing a solid full length / thickness board and layering 2 or partial pieces, both in thickness and width, and then another solid board. So making like a big lasagna thing. I'm guessing this is mostly a combination of maple, cherry, and walnut. Oh man. And I know
baby.
this will look like a heinous Pinterest multi-species sin, but unless I learn to care about things, I'm guessing if within a few months it will be full of drill holes and glue and schmutz. Oh yeah, my base
Unless I
design
learn
can
to care.
fully use stretchers and aprons for support.
That's great.
I have like a thought about this and then like actually answer your question. I don't think it's gonna be a problem at all. I mean, you got 6 inches thick, you got so much glue surface. The only thing that's gonna be like heinous about this is gonna be assembling it. That's so much glue surface,
process.
so many boards to prep, and you got to make sure all of those joints close up nicely so you don't have any like hairline.
Epoxy. Just
use
pour
epoxy.
over it when you're done.
Or you can use a lot of epoxy and spend even more money. You can spend more money on glue than the wood you put into the bench. So you know,
Think of all the money we save by using scrap, Matt.
I can't go there.
I mean,
I can't do
Marc's
it.
got a bunch of scrap if you want more, Powell. for
Come
your
get
bench.
it. Come get it.
Come
It's
pick it
not
up.
real heavy
I would
duty.
recommend
but
Western Red Cedar as a bench top.
my
I think if you
Still.
dip each piece in epoxy first and
Oh,
then
yeah.
put
Then-
everything together,
Yeah, and then
Golden.
Do that. Absolutely. Then just penetrating epoxy too while you're at it. Fully infuse it. Yeah, with resin. Anyway, it's
You
going to be
guys
a lot
remember when Schwarz's epoxy workbench like fell apart in Woodworking in America? Like the whole front just like snapped off.
that I don't remember.
I was not there for
great.
that.
It was like a rotten cherry slab that they just like they infused it with epoxy. And yeah, Megan was I think chopping dovetails, and she chopped and like front 6 inches just like dropped off the bench.
Really? Oh, that's funny.
Now it's more portable.
I mean, you can
wanna know-
imagine Chris handled it so well. It was just like epoxy is not a building material. This was like 8 years ago, but yeah.
Well, shows what he knows.
Right?
Look at you two, baby.
Look at me now. So for this, I think you're going to take a cue from all the cutting board people and just kind of go through the process that they do there to get all the joints nice and tight. You're going to have a lot of fun clamping to get your partial layers to kind of come together and be tight that way before you glue it to your full piece laminates. So it's going to be, you're in for a lot of prep and a lot of creative clamping to make this. I don't think it's going to be a problem like as far as like stability goes once you get it assembled. And once it kind of sits around for a bit and just kind of equalizes, you got so much, at 6 inches thick, you got so much thickness there. The only concern I have for this is that it's going to be like incredibly hard visually to work on this. If you have that much contrast between little places all over your bench,
Go cross-eyed every time you look at it.
Right.
maybe
You're
you can
gonna
get away
lose
with
screws
it.
and
I
things on the
would
bench.
not be able to deal with like all this like the mismatch of like a non-uniform surface like that to be working on. I feel like visually that would be like, it would make my eyes go crazy.
Just paint it.
That was my next thing I was going to say, actually. I was going to say, so
Just
if you might
veneer.
want to consider
Veneer
either
the top,
getting some kind of thin
know?
like paint on there or doing like a bleach application to maybe bring the like the walnut of the cherry down closer to the maple. Because I think
You could
you're
just
going to have a
stick
hard
it out
time
in the
looking at
sun for
this.
3 months.
You could turn it all gray.
gray.
That would work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, do like a aged sort of effect on it. Well, okay. So here's the thing. You said it would be difficult, but let's not gloss over how difficult this is really going to be. We're not just talking about random scraps in length,
I know,
right? In
and-
one layer.
In-
So you got
in
random widths, random lengths, but then also layers. So how are you actually going to do this? At some point, you have to get something has to become uniform.
I
in
believe the way
thickness.
he's going to do this is to laminate all his pieces to his full board. So you have a two layer sandwich, and then you layer all those together. Because otherwise, I don't know how the heck he'd do this. Because to get all those pieces to be clamped both across their width and across their length, so their ends are touching, you're gonna have clamps on the ends pulling those strips together so their ends touch, and you have to clamp them together, and then you got to clamp them down to the carrier board.
Yeah.
So I would either do that, or I'd try and laminate the whole layer first, plane it all afterwards, so it all is nice and
Right.
smooth, and then laminate those in between your carrier boards. There's a few ways to do it. It's still going to be a lot of steps to this. Like, it's not going to be easy or fast, I guess.
It seems like you're making like 3 wacky cutting boards together and then gluing those 3 cutting boards together.
Yep.
Well, and Matt just said that in passing kind of quickly, but I think it needs to be understated. Like planing, like once you've done a glue up, like planing and cleaning it up, like don't just take that glued thing and then glued it to the other thing.
No.
When I was building, and mine's just like I took full thickness boards. I'm not doing vertically. I'm not laminating together. I just took like a bunch of 8/4 by 6 and turned it on edge and glued it all together. And there's probably, I don't know, 15, 16 boards in my bench top. But I remember like just being able to roll on enough glue. I couldn't do more than 3 at a time before things started to set up. Yeah. So I was gluing up sub-assemblies of 3. And then I took a 2 sub-assemblies and glued them together. And they were so uneven from each first sub-assembly had little slip and things like that. And it was such a mess. I was compounding errors. So then I got in the habit. I'd glue up a sub-assembly 3. I would plane it and joint it and get it like perfectly square before I glued it to the next one, which brings to the other point is you actually may find that you remove a fair bit of material. So like if you're laminated together and I'm going to be just at 6 inches, it might be more like 5.5 by the time you're actually planed and all that stuff. So you need to add a little bit of overage into that. Yeah. But Marc's visual thing. Well, Marc, you stained your bench dark that one time as an experiment, and that was a disaster.
Happened. I refuse to acknowledge that.
Yeah. That didn't happen.
I never did
Here, for viewers, for YouTube viewers, here's my Douglas fir bench top. I struggle sometimes, and that's all one species, but it's just typical Douglas fir high contrast grain. I lose hardware on this bench a lot of times. Like the screws for hinges get lost.
It sounds silly to say it, but it is a real thing. Like you have even just having a dark workbench can sometimes make it tricky to find stuff on the bench.
If you've got dark and light and stripes and you've got like a bowling alley made out of cherry and maple and walnut, you're going to want something. I say a nice heavily figured veneer over top to add even more interest.
Yeah. I love it. Well, you know what? I want to see pictures. So please keep us posted on this because I want to see this crazy thing come together. All right.
Good luck with it.
Well, I think that's going to do it for us today. Remember that this show is made possible by the generous contributions of our patrons. That's patreon.com/woodtalk if you'd like to help out. And of course, our friends over at Woodcraft. There's always something cool going down at your local store, so always check the website or just stop by. Of course, that's at woodcraft.com. And one more thing left this month in the schedule to let you guys know about. June 28th, the 4th Annual Family Day at the Woodcraft of Appleton, Fox Cities, Wisconsin. Learn about woodworking by doing some hands-on builds. I guess they have a thing called the Project Center. Sounds like a place I would want to spend some time. There's going to be woodworking and tool demonstrations throughout the day. You can talk to experts and see their work. Plus, there's going to be food. That's a really good reason alone to go. And you can enter to win some great raffle prizes.
Marc will be there.
I will not be excited. Well, there might be a picture of me somewhere there. A cartoon of me.
Everyone submit the pictures of Marc. Picture with Marc. Get a picture with Marc.
I would love that. If you guys, what's our Instagram? Wood Talk, right? If you guys want to, if you're at your local Woodcraft. Yeah,
Wood Talk Show.
Just asking Shannon. He's the contact info guy.
Yeah, it's Wood Talk Show.
If you go to your local Woodcraft and you see our little picture there, the little Woodcraft.
Take a selfie with us.
The Wood Talk. Yeah, take a selfie or something like that. Take a picture, send it to us on our Instagram account so we can put that into our stories or post those pictures. That would be fun.
No gang signs, please. Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't recognize them if you did. So
it's true.
We're just 3 morons. So.
I don't know what's going on half the time.
I think I speak for my other 2 co-hosts here that we appreciate your questions, and we're actually, we've drawn our questions direct from Patreon, so I feel like we're kind of neglecting the rest of you schlubs who don't sponsor the show. So, maybe we'll actually check the Gmail inbox this week and answer some of those questions next time. So if you want, send an email to woodtalkshow@gmail.com, and you might get lucky this next time around. We might actually answer one of those. But yeah, by all means, go take a selfie with our life-size cutouts. I don't know if they're life-size. They could be little.
I hope
ours could be little and Matt's could be life-size.
I think they're about this big. Like a postcard.
If it's life-size, I'm pretty tiny anyways, so it's not that impressive.
I wonder if they would get the scale correct, though. Like if they did life-size cutouts of us from You know,
it would
from a
look
picture.
ridiculous. It would look so ridiculous.
If they made us all the same size.
They stretched me out to Shannon's height?
Like the person at the print
Holy
place
crap, I
who
look
makes the sign
ridiculous.
goes, well, yeah, of course they're all the same height, so they make us all the same height. It might look really odd.
That would be.
It's like that fine woodworking event where we were at that place
that's why I know.
playing pool, and
Yeah.
there was a step, and we would have Matt stand on the step and kind of move us all around so you couldn't tell who actually was taller. Oh, good times. Look at us having a good
It was
time.
a good time. Boy, we're losers.
Yep.
That's what we call a good time.
Yeah,
Nice.
I guess so. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody, and we will catch you next time.
Toodaloo.